Hello everybody, welcome to Start Over. My name is Marion and I am so happy and excited to finally be doing this because I feel like every single year during Ramadan, I'm always thinking like I want to post so much about my Ramadan journey, but like a program is something that has been on my mind honestly for quite some time. But I am the type of person that's always like, no, but for sure nobody's going to watch it, so why am I gonna do it for? And I think we are all like this. So this year I said like, you know what, I don't care. I'm just gonna do it because I really feel like during my fourth year, I have so much to talk about and there is so much like reflections and just basically so much learning. So this is why I said like, this is the year, that's it. So Start Over, the Ramadan Reflections edition is brought to you by Host X, which are the amazing creative house that's helping me produce this program. Is making me basically just materialize my dreams. So I'm super happy about it. And anyway, so it is my fourth year fasting and I'm not Muslim. So every single year I receive the same question. If you are not Muslim, why are you fasting? And I think it's such a valid question because people, they want to understand what you believe in before they get to know you. So it's super normal that I get this question all the time. And every single year I'm always like telling you why do I like to fast during Ramadan, whatever. But in this program, I'm going to give you like actual context of absolutely everything and the reason why I am fasting. So basically everything started in 2022, okay? If you like the tea, you're going to love this show because I am into the tea when it comes to this show. So anyway, 4 years ago, I met this guy and I swear I was in love with this person to death. I was in love with him, okay? Or so I thought, but in reality, I think that I was more like trauma bonded than anything. And he really loved me in the beginning. So when I met this person, I felt so happy and I was so excited about it, blah, 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 blah. And then he ghosted me, okay? So this ghosting, it really touched the depths of my soul. When I tell you that I was the saddest version of myself, I actually was. Like, what a terrible experience for me. And I felt super lonely. At that time, I was still a cabin crew. So I was dealing with having to fly, like really long flights. At this time, it was the time that I was doing ultra long haul flights, which were like from Doha to USA. So I was going Dallas and Boston, New York. And I was so tired. It was such a change, like a sudden change for me after 1 year flying. Starting to go to the US was something that really kind of like took a toll on me physically, mentally, emotionally, these really ultra long haul flights. Anyway, I was dealing with being a cabin crew and I was dealing with this breakup that really hurt me so much. So what happened? I used to have a best friend at the time that we are not friends anymore, but nothing really ever happened between us. And she is a person that holds so much space in my heart because she helped me to take decisions that helped me shape the life that I'm living today. And if it wasn't because of her, basically maybe I would have never made the decision of quitting my flight attendant job, which was what I did. After this guy broke my heart, maybe I spent like another 6 times at the job. Every single day that I was going to work, I hated it. Like I hated it so much. When I tell you that I hate it, it's not like I hated going to work, okay? What did I do? This best friend that I was speaking about, she really liked. I was always coming to cry to her and I was like, I am so sad. Like I just want to quit. I was sick all the time. And she told me like, okay, so then why don't you quit? Okay, just do it. And she was also hearing me complain about job and complain about this guy that really broke my heart. So she was like, just make the decision, move on. She is Russians, so if you know them, they are really like strong people and they are super direct. I love them, by the way, like such a respectful people because they are like, just do it, that's it. So she was like, shake it off and just do it. So she really pushed me to make a decision and quit. And I remember I told my mom like, Mom, I am going to quit my flight attendant job. And she was like, oh, absolutely not. What are you going to do? So I took a certification of Pilates at that time while I was still a cabin crew just to kind of like prepare for what was next. And these are the times that I know that God really is protecting me all the time because while I was dealing with making the decision of quitting, at the same time I was dealing with all of this, I started praying after many years that I didn't pray, or I would always remember God because I grew up in a religious home and my grandma, she's from one religion and my grandpa, he's from a different religion. So I grew up with a really open mind when it comes to religion and what people believe because I saw two people coming from different faiths basically just getting together and forming a beautiful family. So I have always been like like, okay, you believe in this, you believe in that. Okay, that's good for you. Anyway, pushing forward, during like my teenage years and basically my early 20s, I didn't really pray and I didn't really go to church. So I forgot, like about God. So fast forward to the time where this guy broke my heart and I was dealing with quitting my job and I was dealing with ignoring my mom, I start praying. I would sit down like next to the bed and I'd be like, God, like I really want to understand what am I supposed to do, because I don't want to work here, but I need to work here. And I didn't really have so much money because I was going through a lot of sickness, to be honest. Like I was sick a lot and this made me not fly so much. So if you don't fly, you don't get paying hours, like flying hours, right? So I was like, oh my God, like I was so confused. Anyway, so I start praying. And my prayers was just like me sitting on the floor, like, God, I need guidance. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't really know who I am. Because, before I moved to Qatar, like 5 years ago, I went to college. I studied marketing and PR. Like I was doing marketing in Costa Rica. So when I made the decision to move to Qatar, I was just like, when I was doing this corporate job, I had my own business in Costa Rica. We were selling scarves, like the silk scarves. And it was such a successful project. And it was my graduation project. And it became so good that we decided to just continue doing it. And we were selling in stores and we were on TV. So I know that I have always been a person that likes to dream. I've always had like goals and aspiration, and I'm always looking forward to make something happen. And so I've always had this personality, but that personality kind of like went to the shadows when I started experiencing a lot of heartbreak because I really wanted to be chosen and loved by other people, to be honest. Like the only way that I felt attractive or fun or beautiful or chosen or loved, it was basically when I was being chosen either by a romantic partner or any friend, okay? So while I was in that stage of my life where I was so confused and I started praying again, I realized something about myself, and it is like that version of myself that always had the chance to grow and evolve into something better. It was gone. Like I didn't have any more aspirations. I was never looking forward to anything except being loved by another person. So I felt like I was hitting rock bottom when I realized that for such a long time, I didn't dream of anything. To be honest, I didn't have an actual important goal that motivated me enough to make anything in life. So I was praying God. I think when I had that realization, I didn't only pray God to give me clarity, but also to help me understand basically what were my dreams, because I didn't really even know. I didn't know what I was good at doing. I had no idea what to do with my life. And I really felt like there was no way out from the situation where I was in, which wasn't really terrible, right? Like you are being a flight attendant, like what do you mean you're not having a good life? But when I think about the fact that to be a happy person, you need to make an internal change. But you can have an amazing external life, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be happy. And I realized specifically about that, and I understood that I needed a change. And I started considering actually quitting when I was in a safari in Kenya. Like, do you understand what it is to have like a rhino in front of you and feeling nothing? I was so sad. I was so numb. I couldn't feel anything. Having that feeling of emptiness is what really pushed me forward to make a change. So I made the decision of quitting my flight attendant job. And it wasn't easy because, like I said, I had to ignore my mom. It had to be kind of like a really rushed decision, like just quit and just do it. This was the first year that I fasted during Ramadan. While I was still being a flight attendant, but I was considering a change. So I started fasting. That's it. And why did I start fasting? Because my best friend that I told you about from before, she was fasting. And I remember she told me like, why don't you fast? If you want, like you can do it for health. You don't have to do it like for anything else. And I was like, you know what? Actually, that's not a bad idea. Sure, I'm going to do it. So while I wasn't flying, I was fasting in Doha. And she also convinced me because she told me like, you will come to my home. You can have iftar with us. And I was like, what is iftar? So she was like, this is the time when you can actually eat again. She told me you can come to my house every day and break your fast with us. So I was like, okay, that's so cute. If that's the case, then sure, I can come. Why not? So I fasted maybe like for 15 days. And then the other 15 days, I was probably just like at work flying. And while I was fasting, I didn't pray during my first Ramadan, to be honest. Maybe I did a couple of times, like I said, asking for this guidance. So I quit, okay? What happened from that first Ramadan until my second Ramadan, I quit my flight attendant job, and it was a really difficult moment in my life because I didn't have any savings. And if there is something that I wish I did that I didn't do it, but now I realize how important that was, is that from the moment that I thought of quitting, I should have made like a savings plan. And I didn't do that. And that was a terrible thing because I remember when I quit quit, I felt super empowered, and then it came to me moving from my apartment into my friend's apartment, and I didn't have money to pay for the moving truck. And this was basically the moment where I said, like, what was I thinking? Like, of course I can't do this. Anyways, I was like, okay, I'll see. It is too late now, right? So the deal was that I was going to be giving like part-time Pilates work, okay? And I was also doing like some marketing part-time job, whatever. So I wasn't really getting paid a lot, and at that time I really needed money. Like, I had to move stuff. So my friend lent me money, thankfully, okay? And I remember she was traveling out of Doha. So she told me, I'm not gonna be home, but you can come to my home, leave your stuff there, start living there. It's okay. So what happened is that she had been away from Doha for a couple of, maybe more than a month. So her apartment was it was without anybody. And I don't know if you know Baladia, but they came and they did something inside the apartment. So basically they kind of like shattered an entire wall, or like an entire wall. So the whole apartment, you could not live there, and there was no way of cleaning. And maybe it would be as easy as calling a cleaning company, but remember that I didn't have any money. So it's me outside her house. It's can't live there, and I am crying because I'm like, I have 4 boxes of stuff in me, and it was such a terrible thing. So what happened? Around 2 weeks before that situation, I saw a friend of mine. We went to have coffee, and he has a truck. So I told him, like, maybe I will need your help soon because I'm gonna have to move out. So he said, like, yeah, sure. But we weren't really super close people, so I felt shy asking him for help. But anyway, I asked him for help, and I just told him that that's it. 2 weeks move forward, and I am crying in front of my friend's house. I'm sitting there, I don't know what to do. And my friend called me, the friend that I saw 2 weeks ago. He was like, hi, how are you? I wanted to ask you, how is your moving going? And I was crying so much, and he told me, like, why are you crying? Are you okay? Do you need anything? And I was like, well, actually I do. Like, I told him what happened. I came to my friend's house, and I can't stay here. I don't have a place to stay, blah blah blah. So he said, like, look, in my home, the maid's room is free, so you can use it if you need to. So I was like, okay, that's amazing. So I took basically just kind of like my essentials in a small bag, and I went to his home, and I stayed there for maybe like around 2 weeks. And imagine, like, when I arrived to his house, I was crying in a way that I'd never cried before. And he held me, and he was like, you're gonna be okay. And imagine, we weren't even close. So every single time that I think about this, I know, now I see, of course, how God was protecting me, because he knew I really needed to have someone next to me to just basically like support me at the time emotionally. And my friend did it at the time, and we weren't really even that close, but we'd known each other for a couple of, I'd say, years probably. So I stayed in his home for like around 2 weeks, and then I start feeling a little bit uncomfortable. To be honest, a couple of things happened that I didn't really like. So I moved out. He asked me to go out. Like, he asked me to leave his home because he's like a different roommate was gonna come into that room. So I said, like, okay. So I moved out, and I went back to my friend's house, but now she was coming back to Doha. So everything kind of like aligned, in the timeline of me needing a person here and a person here. Every single time in my life when I think things are not going according to my plan, I always go back to this stage in my life where I thought that nothing was going according to the plan, and I was actually being really taken care of, like a baby. Like, okay, now you go here, now you go here. And this can only be done through God, like not even yourself. You don't know so many things, only God knows. So anyway, I went back to my friend's house, and at that time I was giving Pilates classes, and I was doing like modeling gigs, basically for free. So to give you context, I was a TV presenter back at home when I was 8 years old, and I was doing catwalk, and I have always, all my life, I have been a commercial model. Like, I have been in TV commercials, on billboards, ads, the biggest campaigns, the national campaigns back in Costa Rica and Central America too. So I've always had this basically natural talent to be in front of the camera, to tell a story. And I was a TV presenter of a kids show, imagine. So how come you have 9 years old and you're able to present in a TV, on live TV? It is because obviously I have a natural talent for speaking. So I don't know if you remember earlier in this episode, I talked about how I thought I wasn't good at anything. And in reality, I was super talented when it came to communication, which is funny because I even had a whole college degree about mass communication, PR, and marketing. So how empty I was, how much did I abandon myself that I couldn't see the talents that have been present in my life all my life, pretty much, right? Okay, anyway, because of that talent, I start building my modeling portfolio again. So I start like contacting some photographers and some people to please help me, take photos of me because I wanted to build my portfolio. And I met a photographer. My ex-roommate from Qatar Airways recommended him, and she told me, look, you should contact this guy. So I got in touch with him. I got in touch with an abaya designer, and I told her, like, dear, I swear I'm a professional model, I'm a commercial model, but right now I'm building my portfolio. So how about you send me your abayas and I made a whole photo shoot for you. So she sent me her abayas, and I went to all the port with this suitcase up and down, changing my abayas just because I wanted to do like an abaya photo shoot with this photographer. And after that, I started taking modeling projects, but the payment was super, super, super low, or majority of them were basically for free because I just needed people to see my face in order for me to get more paid work. Okay, so I was giving the Pilates classes, I was also giving cycling classes, I was giving bar classes, and I was doing the free modeling gigs. So it was a really difficult period because I could not sustain myself financially, and I come from a really humble family, so it wasn't like I could call my dad, because basically my mom and my dad divorced when I was 7 and he has always been absent. So it wasn't like I could call my dad and be like, Dad, can you help me with this? Or it wasn't like I could call my mom because I didn't want it to make her worried. So I felt like I was really on my own. And like one of the ways that during this journey that I know that God really took care of me, it's because when I was taking my certification with Pilates, I decided to take a different course for personal training. So I wanted to certify myself also as a personal trainer. And I didn't know at that time that I was going to quit soon. So I wasn't really taking so much care of my financials. And that was a mistake because I didn't know, like, in a couple of weeks I was going to really need money. And I was paying for this expensive personal trainer certification. And one day my card stopped working. Like, they deduct maybe like around 2 weeks of the personal training course, which was a little bit expensive. And then it stopped. My card got blocked. And now I know it's because that wasn't really the path that I was supposed to take. And God knew I needed to take care of my financial situation. So he was taking care of me by blocking my card for no reason. So then the course would stop, and then I just didn't continue because I made the decision of quitting. It's just like, I'm just giving you a small context of how much God can actually, like, take action in your life without you knowing. And that's why I always think, like, we can plan our life, but at the same time we can't, because if you do that, when things happen that don't align with the timeline that you have in your head, you can sabotage, God's plans for you. So that's when it's important to let go of control and understanding that He is the master of everything, and God is the one that is going to take us as long as we allow it, because God wants us to be happy. So anything that happens is in order to transform us. Okay, so where was I? I was taking these modeling gigs and whatever, and then little by little, my modeling started picking up, and I got in touch with a lady that she had different businesses here in Doha, really successful lady, and she is extremely kind. So I met her, we did click. So she told me, like, how about you do a little bit of marketing for my businesses and whatnot? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I remember that I told her, you don't have to pay me anything, because at this time I was living with my friend, and a couple of videos of mine in social media went going viral, because my social media, when I decided to quit my job, I made my account public, but I had like 500 followers or something. Like, I didn't really have any followers, and I had a TikTok, but my TikTok was, I remember when I had one video. So I never really planned to become like an influencer or a content creator. It wasn't really like on my list, but some of my videos started going viral. By the time that I was living at my friend's studio, I left my friend's house and I went back to my best friend's home. Now we moved in together to a different apartment. We were living together, but we were sharing a studio, and I didn't realize how much I actually needed my own space. It was such a sad moment, because I was like, I love my friend, but I don't want to live with her, and I felt that I was being super ungrateful, and I really wanted to have my own space, my own privacy. I did some modeling gigs, but by this time I did a commercial for Qatar Airways, I did a commercial for Hamad International Airport. So good things were starting to picking up, but sometimes you can get a project and get paid in 3 months. So some of my payments on hold, like, my financial situation was terrible. So what happened? I connected with this lady who does businesses. She told me to help her doing social media and whatever. So I told her, look, you don't really have to pay me for anything. You just have to please help me to find a place to live, because she has people, so she has accommodation for her stuff. And she told me, look, I don't have any other room for you, but I can help you find a studio and I can lend you money. We can buy some affordable furniture and you can pay me later. Because I kept telling her, like, look, I'm gonna get money, but like in a couple of months, whatever. So she really trusted me for no reason, again, just because she actually has a good heart. And she lent me money and she helped me rent a studio in Maider. If you know Maider, it's a really far area in Doha. And I was living in a room. It was actually like a room. It was like a square. It had like a really small kitchen and a super small toilet. But she lent me money for the first rent and to buy a small furniture. So I remember we bought like a bed, and we bought a small closet, something like that, and a small fridge and a washing machine. That's it. And she lent me this money and I had to pay her in installments pretty much. I think it was for like around 6 months or something like that. But slowly I started being more consistent in the gym, giving my classes. I was giving personal Pilates class, like private Pilates classes. And this helped me to kind of like sustain myself. And then my social media slowly started picking up and I got a deal. Okay, at that time, I did a really successful campaign with Shop Qatar. It was such a good campaign. It was huge. It was massive. It was a huge coverage. So that project allowed me to move to a bigger studio. So I left the first studio. I finished my debt with the angel that helped me move to the second studio. And I was able finally to save a little bit of money and move to a third studio. Now, I was so happy in the studio because it was bigger. I had a bathtub. It was still in Mu'ayder. It wasn't really nothing fancy, but it was bigger. So that's when I knew that like slowly things were actually getting better. And this is when second Ramadan came to the picture. And I'm gonna leave that for the next episode. But if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. My name is Marion and this program was brought to you by Host X. See you next time.